All right, so we have our attendees for today's session coming in. It's lovely to have you. We'll start in a minute. Perfect. It's looking good. And we're live on Facebook as well. So let's get this started. So welcome everybody to today's session. It's a topical roundtable today with the topic of connecting growers and consumers. And this is part of our live session set on supply chain, because we've seen that supply chains have been affected a lot in the current global pandemic. And so today we are joined by a bunch of next-gen entrepreneurs from Uganda, Venezuela, Indonesia, Colombia and Nigeria, who are going to share with us a little bit of what they're doing. And it's my pleasure to say that today's session is led by Christine. And so Christine, please take it away from here.
Yes, thanks. And thanks so much to you all for joining today's session, where we can actually learn some practical insights and tips and tricks from you all who are really there in your countries on the front lines of trying to solve these issues and have been actually working on supply chain transformation for some years, which is now, of course, the urgency of solving these types of issues is accelerated due to COVID. And the idea for this session is, of course, to really tap into all of the learnings that you have gathered so that we can help other innovators in other parts of the world who are thinking about these topics, whether they actually be entrepreneurs, whether they be policymakers or business leaders, to really understand the types of solutions that are available and also the types of enabling policies and frameworks we need around the world to solve these complex challenges. So I'd like to take a minute before we dive into the crux of the discussion to actually have each of you introduce yourselves. And if you can give your name, your location, what your business is doing, and kind of your experience with Thought for Food, because of course we know all of you from this amazing community that we're all part of. So maybe Albert, I'll start with you if you don't mind. So over to you, Albert.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Albert Kure. I am calling from Nigeria, and I currently work at Frontier Science Limited, and was finally, so that was how I got involved with Thought for Food as an organization, and it has been an amazing 2 years so far. I have gone well and beyond my capabilities due to the collaboration and the connections and the network within the organization. And so for me, I'm very happy to be part of this panel to have a discussion, because I know we all are facing certain challenges, particularly with the pandemic now, and we can always learn from each other. I tell some people, sometimes you don't need to innovate new things, you just need to connect to other innovators, and then you can all bridge the gaps within each other's work. So for me, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Fernando.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was mute. Yeah, I'm Fernando Salerno. I'm from Venezuela. I am the founder of Nispero, a venture dedicated to create local production and distribution systems by including small-scale farmers. The challenges in Venezuela are huge, and in my path as an entrepreneur, being connected with communities like Thought for Food has been almost a lifesaver, because it tells us that we are not alone. And despite Venezuela's situation, we face several common challenges in the way as entrepreneurs. And being here, sharing this, is sharing our dreams, sharing our work, and why not trying to work together for a more secure world.
Thank you so much. Dario.
Hey, hello, my name is Dario. I'm from Colombia. I'm the founder and CEO of Cultivando Futuro. So we built an information system to basically understand the smallholders. So we collect information about the smallholder farmers and try to make evident how to solve their problems. So yeah, basically what we found out is that even at the highest and biggest organizations, they have a lot of assumptions about the farmers, but there's not really much support on that assumptions. And so they throw a lot of money on trying to understand the farmers, and they do this every year. instead of spending the money on the farmers. So yeah, so I think that my work just revolves around understanding the smallholder farmers and how to help them.
And getting data compiled. Very
yeah.
Morris, to another part of the world.
Yes, hello, TFF community. My name is Morris Opio from Kampala, Uganda. Yes, I'm so much happy to be part of this conversation today. I am the co-founder and the CEO of Stock Essential Enterprise. And what we are doing is we are turning for smallholder farmers basically, because currently, like in the situation of Uganda, post-harvest loss is a serious challenge. Almost close to half of what farmers produce get to waste. Turn those wastes, all those losses into profit. And I've been two-time finalist of Sort of Food. Yes, I think I'm the only one who have been there twice. That's how I got connected to Sort of Food. I've worked as an ambassador and currently coordinating the work for Sort of Food in East and North Africa.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And Fabri, over to Asia. Can you hear us, Fabri? Well, this is definitely one of the realities, of course, that we deal with when we're working in a global community, of course, is, you know, making sure that we can use technology as a lever to connect, but it doesn't always work perfectly. I'm sure Fabri will be with us soon. I can quickly introduce him, that he is part of one of our current finalist teams going through our virtual academy, which is led by this rock star Marie. And basically his company is called Aglonera, and they have a very interesting story to tell, but they were originally established to connect farmers with food cart sellers in Indonesia, but you know, through this crisis have pivoted their business to a B2C model, which has been really interesting to learn about and also understand. So Fabri, are you back?
Hi, I'm sorry.
No worries. I just quickly introduced Aglonera, but I think you can do a better job. So over to you. Yeah.
I'm sorry, the connection is unstable because currently Indonesia is hard rain right now. Okay, Aglonera, yeah, Aglonera. So right now I'm developing Aglonera. So what is Aglonera? Aglonera is a platform, a digital platform that connecting small food vendors in Indonesia to get raw material products directly from producers, like farmers, breeders, and small food industries. And not only that, we also make some communities, producers communities, and we develop these communities to get an exposure from the market, so they can produce in line with the market requirements. And then the big goals of the Aglonera is we are trying to simplify the supply chain between the producers and the and the business, a small food business. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. And so I want to just handle a quick logistical point before we dive into the conversation, which is that for anyone who is logged in as an attendee, we cannot see you, but we can definitely take any questions that you have. So please feel free to input them into the Q&A box, and in the moderation, I'll be sure to touch on your questions. And also just a reminder that the purpose of today's session is to get real and to get real actions and feedback and lessons and learnings that we all can apply as we're thinking about how to solve these complex challenges, no matter where we are in the world. Because going back to what Albert said, the beauty of TFF is that, you know, we really believe that the solutions that we need to be built from the ground up, literally, but by people who really deeply understand their markets and their contexts in their localities, but we can accelerate those efforts through collaborating at the global level and bringing together all of these amazing people who have insights to share. I also just want to mention one last thing, which is that we do recognize we have a manel today, but that doesn't mean that we were conscious of it. We did reach out to several of our female founders who unfortunately were not available during this time. But that said, I think, you know, diversity and inclusion is something that we stand for strongly at TFF. And I think you'll hear in each of the stories how by working with smallholders, you know, the founders that we're working with, no matter where they are in the world, are working with women, female farmers, and, you know, all kinds of generations. So diversity is something we take very seriously at TFF, despite the mantle we have today, but they're rock stars who are thinking about inclusion in a big way. So let's get to the crux of this. This is a serious time, right? I mean, every day we're reading headlines about these supply chain disruptions, farmers, you know, literally plowing vegetables back into the fields, culling animals, you know, dumping milk and eggs. So I'd like to hear from you, like each of you, if you don't mind, like what's happening in your country? Like, what are you seeing? Is this something that's getting worse right now? Is this just something that, you know, has been a simmering issue? Tell us a little bit about what you're experiencing.
Okay, so let me start off with
We lose you, Albert.
the situation in Nigeria is okay. The situation in Nigeria is tricky. It's a situation where the balance between food production and food consumption is not stable. So in some parts where production exceeds consumption, you have a lot of wastage. And then there are certain parts within that same country where consumption demands exceeds production. And so you now have food scarcity. So within the same country, you now have extremes of situations. And recently, what I've been able to understand is that the food and water access has been the major factor when determining whether the methodologies that and the strategies put in place during this COVID situation, whether it works or it fails. Food and water are basically it, because people can survive off of being out of work for temporarily. People can survive out of survive not having access to go out and to move around amidst the lockdown. But what people cannot handle is an unavailability of food and inaccessibility of food. And then in places where I'm currently based now, we're experiencing a bit more of wastage, because now food is available on the farms, but there is a disconnect between food from the farmers to the consumers. Yes, and so for us in Nigeria here, I think we're just getting into the conversation now about how to digitize and automate parts of the supply chain. And this is something certain Western countries have already had in place. And now with the COVID pandemic, it was just a way to facilitate and fast track most of these innovations and ensure increased adoption and proliferation of the solution amongst the population. But for us here in Nigeria, I think what we're having to do now is we're having to create some of these platforms from scratch to meet the existing problems. So I think we're a step behind with the catching up of the problem. And that's why I believe as a country, we would probably do better post-COVID, because we are going to be learning so much more from this experience. And that would funnel into our thinking as with regards to future design and future thinking about just calculating the strategies and implementation methods you would need for future problems, rather than just projecting and finding assumptions to act as a this could happen. So I think for us, it's more of a learning period for us, because now there's so much diversity and there's so much problems coming from different angles. And because of that multi-angle issue, you now have people learning and adapting to the current problem. So I think it's more of an evolution happening in Nigeria now, I would say.
Are you seeing a culture of like experimentation? You know, like in entrepreneurship, you try things, you see what works, you see what sticks. Is that like happening now because of this crisis? Like, are people like willing to try things that,
Definitely. Like I mentioned, while we were having the previous call, the first conversation, we've had a bit of bottlenecks over time. But I think for us, the pandemic sort of is kind of an opportunity, because it has opened up conversations that people were not ready to have. First of all, because they were not accessible. Now everybody's locked down at home. And so you send an email and people reply that email like immediately, because they are free and they're available. So it has opened those communication channels. But apart from opening those communication channels, it has also become a necessity to adopt certain things. And so for us, it's becoming easier as an opportunity to reach out to solve, and people are experimenting and trying. Because, for example, there was data we collected, I think last year, about how to digitize our marketing strategy to farmers. And mostly in Nigeria here, the Android and iOS mobile adoption rates for farmers is very low, because like it's not practical, the electricity challenges, the fragility of the phones and the nature of the work on the farm and all of that. And it's usually just meant that we couldn't access marketing strategies that would get to the farmers through the digital platforms. But I think now with the current situation, people are willing to try just about anything to solve the problem. Yes, so I think the desperation on one hand is both a disadvantage but can be leveraged as an advantage. So I see problems really as opportunities that we're just waiting to access them. So I think for us, this is just an opportunity to access those opportunities.
I love that mentality. Constraint breeds creativity, they say. And actually, pressure is where you see sometimes these breakthrough happens. And now I want to turn over to you, Dario, because actually this is kind of stuff you've been working on, right? Is getting digital solutions in the hands of smallholders. So, and you've taken a really cool step around like open sourcing some of your API for TFFers to leverage. So can you talk a little bit about what you've been experiencing in Colombia, how you've been able to like build your solution, and what you want to do to empower other innovators, you know, in the TFF community?
Yeah, so I think that the most important thing about the crisis is that you need to realize, like, the economy didn't came to a total halt. Like, probably parts of the economy we thought that they were like so important turn out that they are not vital for people, right? But agriculture is one of the vital ones. And we have an edge on that, and we have like all the, like, the TFF community has like a huge leap on this, because we already are used to this kind of tools, and we have already been developing them, right? So specifically in my case and my company's case, what we had was just like, with the crisis, basically organizations realized how vital the product was, and we have been like having a lot of talks around this, because apparently it wasn't obvious that we need food to eat every day, food to live every day. It was shocking during the pandemic that we need to understand farmers. Like, if farmers cannot work, we will starve in the cities in our lockdowns. And it's kind of weird how people start realizing this. But then we start seeing like some very important things to tackle with technology. And for me, the biggest one is that all the governments are saying, like, we have to secure our food supplies, right? Like, this is kind of the main thing, but there's no way of tracking if the money they're throwing into it is effective. So we are seeing like a lot of this in the country. Like, the president talks every day, like for an hour on the TV here in Colombia, and they talk about a lot of money. Like, we are putting a lot of money, helping a lot of people, and doing this and doing that, but nobody actually has the tools to track it. Like, is this being effective? Is the money going to a right way? Like, you see like corruption scandals like all over the news. So I think it's very important that the role of technology here, because you need to track if things are being effective, if the money is going to a right way, because we're always going to have like people trying to get advantage of these opportunities not in the right way. And the other thing we seeing as a huge thing here in Colombia is that we realize we need to take care of the farmers. So, for example, for me to go to the countryside, actually, it's not the best thing to do, because we don't want that disease to spread on the countryside, because then we will have a broken supply chain, like a really, really, really broken supply chain. And the people that are working with the farmers and trying to help in the supply chain, we need to realize this, that we cannot go to the, like, when we have a role in the cities and we have a role like in these spaces to develop, but our role right now, it's not to be in a farm, because we could put in danger them more. We will be harming them more than helping them. And the last thing that I have seen is that the farmers are also like all the other industries, they are like being forced into technologies. So we are seeing a lot of people like selling on Facebook and doing great, like selling their whole crops and people just buying them directly. We have been seeing like there's a beautiful example of a YouTuber family, like just the mother and her 2 kids that just became that YouTubers of telling what happens in their farms. And in 15 days, they have like 500,000 followers. Like people want to help them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, people want to help them. There are the resources to do it, but we need to be able to track that things are actually going the right way, because there are a lot of people just like trying to get their hands on that money flow, right?
The support that's happening. It's so funny you're mentioning this about the kind of like social media use. I'll transition to Fabri in this context, but like I was just reading an article about in China, they were like live streaming farms, right? And it like was this boon for like city dwellers to like watch farmers in action. And the other point on that is like, that I really love that you said, is how, you know, for those of us like of the next generations, using digital solutions and social media as a platform to sell and connect and create marketplaces is very natural. But this is still a breakthrough, right, in the ag sector that's now being accelerated due to this whole situation. And so I've been fascinated, Fabri, to be following your story in Indonesia, because you've now transitioned to a B2C model. And I was talking with Marie the other day, and she said, you know, you haven't built an app, that you're basically using WhatsApp and Facebook. And I'm like, but they need an app. And then I soon after read an article that said, nope, Southeast Asia, most people do their transactions on social media. So tell us a little bit about why the pivot and, you know, how things are there in your specific context.
Okay. Why we pivoted? Because right now is a COVID. So basically our previous target market is small food business, like I said before, but currently because of the COVID, this small food business cannot sell the products anymore, because the people feel scared to buy people from the outside their house. They feel worried because if
Fabri, do you want to try?
That's why, can you hear?
It's kind of like fading. Would you mind maybe to try taking off your video just for bandwidth?
Me?
Yeah. Sorry.
Hello?
Yep.
Hi.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Okay. Oh, technology.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, that's much better. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, yeah. That's the trigger. That's why we pivoted from the food business to become more B2C, and then we see agglomerasi the trend in Indonesia. The home cooking is become become a trend that more people stay at home, and then they prefer buy the groceries online than the food. So that's why, okay, I think Aglonera thinks this is a chance for us to get back in the business. And then not only that, we see the trends become more generous, So we provide with the food packages for the people, for some of people who wants to give free foods for jobless people or for poverty because of COVID. So we think this situation is is a chance for Aglonera to to look up a new kind of business that generating more revenue to us.
And if you are like using social media primarily, right, to do your marketing at the moment? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about a couple of examples that are working and maybe one that isn't working if possible.
Okay. Last week we tried to revamp our social media. We basically we use an application, but we not using that anymore because we know that most of the people using WhatsApp. So we add links to our WhatsApp to our admins in the social media, and then we try to promote our stories, and then not only that we share the products that we sell to the Facebook and Instagram advertisement, and lucky us that we get a lot of tractions, especially from the what is it a housewife who needs a products every day. So and some of the customers that we get, they can make like a subscription for a 1 week to us, and then they like a listed what the products that they need. And I think social media it's helpful for us in this situation.
Cool. Very exciting to hear. Fernando, I'd love to hear more about like what your business is doing, especially I know you're running it remotely because you can't get home at the moment, but are you incorporating digital tech, or what kind of solutions are you able to be able to drive during this time in Venezuela?
Thank you. It's interesting what Fibri is doing because we are planning to use short message services as a platform to make the supply chain an asynchronous payment supply chain. It's to make it easier to have payments more quickly. We did some tryouts and it works. And the reason that we choose short message services and not WhatsApp and another social media platform is because it requires less phone signal. So we are trying to develop that tool. Unfortunately, Venezuela is going slower than we want to be, but we are trying to be the at most farmer-friendly possible that can be. But I do know in Africa, I don't know if it's Nigeria, Albert, there is an organization that gives small-scale farmers the best phone available in Africa since when? I mean, they took a huge step because they believe that if they have better picture, they have better platforms to use at their phone, they could perform better. So but in Venezuela, in my case, if you depend less about public and private services, you are more empowered to keep moving forward. So what we are doing right now is to use our farm, which is the Nispero Center, as a community engagement point, as a distribution center to reach straight markets with a mobile cold room, but as a center of solutions. I mean, small-scale farmers can see there another kind of practices. We are not teaching them a manual or a guidelines because we are trying to be careful about our cultural impact on their farms, their homes. We have to remember that small-scale farmers are doing what their father teach them and their grandfather teach it to their father. So we have to respect that. And that's my eternal fight with big corporations and big banks because they request for me and for Nispero, hey, where is the big book about what the farmers should be doing? And I say to them, that big book—
learn from what they're doing.
Yeah, that big book can end in a grill doing some meat because they do not care about what the big corporations or what the foreign hand guys have to say. So we show them locally, using local knowledge, different practices, using natural resources available, using natural and local genetics, and they choose what to reply. And then we use short message services as a reaching point. Hey, how are you? How's it going? See you on Monday at the farm. And hey, your crops are ready. Or they can write to us, my crops are ready, my eggs are ready, I have X quantity of eggs. So we are trying to be more cost efficient in that way. And yeah, but we have to validate some steps.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. And I want to get to you, Morris, because you take like a different kind of approach around actually like hardware to solve some of these solutions. But one of the things that's jumping out to me after hearing each of you speak is that, well, I'm involved at the moment in a lot of like policy discussions around, you know, how we can transform agricultural systems to be better, you know, as a result of the learnings from this crisis. But there's a couple of key groups that are missing from a lot of the discussions, and that's telecommunications companies and social media companies. And I wonder if there's like an opportunity for example, ministries of agriculture, or for, you know, some of the policymakers to engage outside of just the ag domain, but with some of these like big players in telecommunications and even, you know, the WhatsApps and Facebooks of the world, you know what I mean, to engage around solution development for food security, instead of all of us approaching it in these like siloed kind of ways. But that's just something. What would your reaction be? Are you seeing that kind of discussion happening in your countries really quickly, or?
Okay, on my end, no.
Yeah.
We aren't as much because we aren't including them in the conversation at most times. Yes, we aren't extending that invitation and saying, oh, we don't just want you for ads, we need you as partners. And yes, so I think for us here in Nigeria, I think the incentives now, when Fernando mentioned giving farmers phones, and it depends on the incentives. People thrive on incentivization in Nigeria. Yeah. So if you're able to provide as much incentive as possible, then you would be able to easily attract partners and network and contacts and people to adopt certain things. So I think for us, we need to extend that invitation first to bring them into the conversation, because they wouldn't want to just come encroach on the conversation without being invited to it.
Well, there's an action we can take. Let's invite them to the table and see, you know, how they can be part of this, and maybe give some phones to farmers. But I think it's building a capability, right, which allows everyone to do what they need to do more effectively. So that's fascinating. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I want to add that governments can be the first big client of any venture. I mean, they can buy just one time a solution, and that can help ventures to go forward. I mean, we are doing several impacts in our venture, I think, social impact, environmental impact, and market impact. So we are doing services for our countries, our communities, our states, and governments. I mean, if they want not bet in our innovation, in our models, perhaps they can buy the food as the very first clients. So make it easy for him.
Absolutely. Great point. Morris, I want to turn to you. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me, Morris? Because your picture is frozen. Okay. Morris is in Uganda, and, you know, as we know, technology is great, but sometimes it doesn't, you know, work in the way we hope it will. So maybe we'll pause there, but he has a very cool like solution that's more like hardware based to extend the shelf life of produce. But before we go there, let's keep going on the digital track, because Dario, some of the stuff that Fernando is talking about, I feel like you've been thinking about too. Excuse me, yes, Idris, it's Nigeria. No, Albert's in Nigeria. Wait, what's happening? Where are you located? Idris, you're in Nigeria. Sorry, I'm trying to follow the chats here. So welcome. But no, Dario, so you've been dealing with gathering data from smallholder farmers in Colombia and connecting that actually to governments. Have you seen governments now becoming clients of yours, actually?
Yeah, actually there were ones of the people that start contacting us with the pandemic, because the thing with information for governments is that now it's trending to talk about information systems, right? But there's very few qualified people inside government that can actually have these conversations, develop these products, like understand the whole potential of them. So yeah, we have been approached a lot by government, but government is slow.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
not anyone can work with government, and it's best not to depend on them because things can change so fast. Like you can be negotiating for a long time with one person and just higher ups change it, and then you're back to zero, right? So it's a difficult process. It's a frustrating process. Uh, but yeah, like if you get something into government, then you get something really big, and you get something you can push really hard. So it's worth the investment. And
Yeah.
on the communications part, like what we do, it's always on the government best interests. Like we know it, they know it, but it's very hard for an entrepreneur to make it happen. Like in the communications part, I'm way more excited about what's happening on satellite communications. And yeah, I personally think like in the next probably 5 years we're going to have like global coverage just from straight to satellite. So I'm just betting on it. I think we should keep developing technologies on the assumption that farmers are going to get full coverage in the next 5 years.
Right.
And because yeah, like if we go to the current stakeholders, like they're great, but they don't have what we need to get full coverage on
Yeah.
on the countryside. Like they can
Well,
give
and
us
I'm
cell
just,
phones.
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, it's very much. They can give us cell phones, but the technologies we need to get to the farmers, like the current infrastructure is not there. And I just see like a space infrastructure that it's been built is
Yeah.
the one that is going to be able to do it.
Well, my mind is just like racing because I tend to agree with you. There's going to be like at some stage, you know, global coverage, and what happens when we have like an additional like 4 billion people who suddenly move online. Like what kind of shifts are we going to see in our food systems? But not only that, we're already seeing discussions around telemedicine, teleeducation, you know, and now the digitization of food supply chains. And all of this, I feel like there's a chance for all of these stakeholders to be working together, talking together, sharing approaches, etc., so that, you know, we can get more like systems solutions versus just like this, you know, one part of the puzzle. So, I mean, that's at least for me a big aha moment that's already happened, is like we should be engaging with all of these different types of players that are thinking about the similar issues, right? How do we reach people in rural areas? How do we get more people, you know, digitally connected, right? And so we have that shared problem, and we're trying to find, you know, solutions in our respective spaces, but how do we get everyone convened to be thinking about this in new ways and sharing knowledge and know-how? Morris, are you back? Yay, except I can't hear you. Oh no. I see you moving, but I can't hear you. Did you hit the button for audio? Yeah. Okay. Oh. I hear somebody. Oh no. Can anybody hear me right now?
We can hear you,
Okay.
Mars. Mars, could you try without your headphones maybe? If you plug them out, maybe we'll be able to hear you.
Okay. Yes.
Can you now hear me?
Yes. Yay. Hi, Morris. You can. Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. Tell us more about what you're doing to connect smallholders with markets, because I think there's a really, you know, interesting solution that others need to know about.
Yes. Currently, let me talk like from the pandemic stage. Yes, because there has been a blockage in that link between the farmers and the consumers. Yes, the farmers cannot get the product to the market. The consumers cannot get to the farmers. And just like you said, we are dealing in hardware. So right now, our clients, which are the farmers, cannot reach us. So that means we cannot sell the dryer anymore. Yes, so it's model a little bit. We started buying the produce from the farmers. So we buy them and we dry them ourselves.
Yeah.
After drying them, then we process them. I would say we turn them into product. Then we have started doing online sale. At the moment, we are working on our website,
yeah.
which has to be up. But we are utilizing social media, Facebook.
Yeah.
So we'll run our all our ads on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
showing the different products we have. Then people would order. Now, if you order, we now connect to you on WhatsApp, which give us easily communication between the consumer. Mm-hmm. Then from there, we now deliver like at your doorstep. So what we have moved from manufacturing the dryer to actually producing a final product which you can now eat. That's what is happening with us currently.
That's amazing. I feel like there's a big collaboration opportunity with February in Indonesia. So I think that we should definitely set up a call between the two of you to maybe see, where are you selling your dryers actually? Because it's not just in Uganda, if I remember correctly. You have several African countries, right?
Yeah. Yes, we have medium and small scale. Yes, so and they move to the market, and in most cases they don't sell all the produce. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we can, farmers could get much more on what they're selling. Right now, production can still continue because what has happened right now is that farmers are still continue farming because in Uganda, most of the food are supplied by the small other farmers, mm-hmm. and they don't stay in urban cities.
Yeah. So
in their villages, they continue working. But the problem now is coming that how do they get the product from the farm to the market? Because movement has been restricted. There is curfew. Yes, so playing in that long getting farmers product to the final consumer would really help farmers get from what they produce and also consumer. In doing that, we can link up the chain, which is about to be broken if not taken care of. Yeah.
Fantastic. Fernando, I wanted to just go back to you quickly to hear about like some of the maybe difficulties, right, that you've been encountering recently that could maybe help other, innovators who are working with smallholder farmers in remote locations. Like what do you wish that you had known sooner in developing your solution, or that you wish if you could snap your fingers that you would have a solution for right now? Because maybe there's someone out there that has it, that they could be contacting you to collaborate.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. At the very beginning, when we started to talk about Nispero, we tried to engage with local organizations, farmers organizations, country farmers organizations, the biggest ones, local banks, private banks, public banks. I mean, we tried to move and create an ecosystem down there in Venezuela, but I mean, not a single soul believe in our project. Why to reach small-scale farmers if you can invest in one farm, 1,000 hectares, and export? So that's the best income we can have by supporting you, not by going to the small-scale farmers and trying to diversify their production. So Nispero was born as a necessity to prosper with boots on the ground. I mean, I have a farm. I saw my father dying in poverty because he was a farmer. So that is a personal mission, and I pay too much attention to what people say to me at the very beginning. And I think I lost several months trying to engage and fit what the stakeholders want from us. So by now, I will not pay attention. I will listen, of course I will. I will have the insights, but I will keep moving forward my initial idea, because I mean, you have to validate it, you have to nourish your idea. But as an entrepreneur, if you are trying to create something, I mean, point forward to solve a problem in a different way, in a new way, you have to be, I mean, more confident about what you are pursuing, and you have always to step any step and at the farming world with market reach. I mean, if there are not people paying for your solution, if you cannot sell your food, you are losing time and money. For me, with Nispero, it's going structural. Actually, we are trying to create our own food industry. And I think we will see Nispero in Panama and Colombia this year, or perhaps the next year if our friend COVID helps us.
Amazing. I mean, I have goosebumps when you're talking about this, because it's indeed, I mean, the people that we have the pleasure of working with in the Thought for Food community, like they're solving problems from the ground up that they deeply understand, right? And that's so often I see it's like technology looking for a problem to solve instead of the other way around, which is like, this is a real problem. Smallholder farmers are suffering, they're going into poverty, they're disconnected from opportunities. So here we have a solution, and you have to disrupt the status quo of how people are thinking, right? Investors and, you know, big banks and customers and the industry itself. But it, you know, that hustle and grit that you're showing is very, very inspiring. And I think you're really onto something. We're even seeing in the chats, like saying that this is, you know, amazing insights and something we all can recognize. And I want to actually touch on that, like, because I want to hear from everybody, but the cool thing is you have a founder story that you just shared, Fernando, about your father. Everyone on this call has an amazing like founder story, why they were compelled to jump in and develop the solution that they did. And I wondered if a couple of you could share that, if you don't mind. Like, I'm thinking of you, Fabri, specifically, also you more, I mean, all of you actually. So maybe each of you can talk about like why you built your solution in the way that you did. What motivated you?
Okay.
Albert, go, and then Fabri can jump in. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Albert, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Fabri. Yeah.
Okay, so I as a person, I've always been a very analytical person. So I connect a lot to statistics and data, because I believe those data on paper translates to real lives and translates to actual red-blooded people that go through certain problems or that enjoy certain advantages or disadvantages. And so for me, being in Nigeria, where we are a major agri-producing country on the surface, when I use the term agri-producing loosely, because majority of our income comes from crude oil exportation, but we have so much agricultural potential, I mean, so much that we aren't considering alternatives like vertical farming and hydroponics, because there's just so much latent potential. So we don't see the need to extend further to go innovate new ways of farming when we have the land, we have access to the quality land, we have the access to the rains, we have the sunlight, we have all of these factors that play into making agriculture thrive within the sub-Saharan African region. And so for me, it was funny when you would have a state that produces so much food but still have people go hungry.
Right.
And it was now stemming from the issue of the inavailability of that food. After production production from the farms, there was a lot of difficulty with transportation, with storage, and with food getting to the fork part of the supply chain. Mm-hmm. And we noticed that over that period, there's so much food that gets wasted. And if only that food can be saved, it would go on to feed so many more people. And this is something you see practically with people's lives, where you have someone wanting to cook, and then because of the shortage in electricity, you're unable to store your foods in the refrigerator. And then even if you do store them in the refrigerator, they go bad because probably there's an extended period of electricity disruption. And so those are all problems that came into play. And then we decided as scientists now and as people who understand the information to work on Coating Plus to say, okay, fine, how do we extend the shelf life of fresh food with as much organic alternatives as possible? And so we went through the route of producing Coating Plus and coating fresh food to extend the shelf life. And from this conversation, I'm very glad I joined this call, because now I just heard about Maurice's approach. We've been considering that, where instead of having to sell Coating Plus now, we buy off the agricultural product, do the coating ourselves, because there's a bit more technicality in the coating and all of that, and production and all of that, and coat that food now and then sell off to. So we serve as a middle person for the farmers and connecting to. So I think there's a lot of things we can do with evolving as a company.
Yeah.
And for me, thank you very much, Maurice and Fernando, for all of the
so many connections. But I just want to also mention the cool thing, like, again, because you guys, like, I live in two worlds. I live with the incumbents, right? The big industry. And I also get to work with next gen entrepreneurs. Some of the stuff that you're doing, you don't even realize how game changing it is. So the fact that you have a circular economy company, Albert, like, you basically are repurposing waste from another industry, right, to create your coating. You're also looking at the micronutrient provision, right, through making this edible coating that is also like nourishing people. So this is all, like, this is a circular economy company that's solving a real problem. And, you know, all of you are also leveraging digital and social media. And this is all just like, it's normal for you because you're next gen innovators, but this is not normal in the world of food and ag innovation to be thinking like this. So it's really cool to see. And also that's what we're trying to like get out and normalize into the world. It's like, these are the types of solutions we need more of. So thank you for sharing that. And Fabri, tell us a little bit about your founder story and, you know, what like motivated you to build Aglonera.
Okay. Actually, I was studied in a Bogor Agriculture University. During my study, I was actively involved with the organization that collaborate with the communities. And during the program, I saw a lot of inefficiencies. I saw a lot of people who's disconnected with the opportunities, as you said before, and they don't get a lot of fair price. So after I graduated, I started my own company, a trader. I was a trader. I sold products from the farmers to some countries like China and Korea in that time. But during that time, I was experiencing a fraud by the farmers. Actually, not the farmers, but the middleman. So in 2017, I created Aglonera. So basically, Aglonera in the previous business model, we are not like a aggregator. We are a marketplace for agriculture. We are trying to sell the farmers' products, but we realized that a marketplace or a high tech or a high end technology cannot work in Indonesia because the education level of the farmers is still low. They don't have like any exposure to the technology. They use SMS, so that's why we have to pivot. So in 2000 the first thing that I learned from the agriculture or the agribusiness, the first things that you have to need to know is a market. So that's why in 2019, we pivoted the business. We tried to understand the market first and then try to align what the market needed to the producers. So that's the story. That's the story points that we take during 2 years be working with the farmers. And then, until now, we pivoted the business. We try to connecting the business, what the business or what the market needs. And then we tell our farmers, we created a farmers communities and develop a skills to the farmers to produce a products that align with the market requirements.
So it's
that's my story.
Amazing. There's a couple of other little points of nuance I want to add in here, if you don't mind me saying. One is, didn't you grow up and your mother was actually running a food truck? And so you also deeply understood the need to source products, right?
Yes. Yeah. My mom actually was a seller. A seller. I always buy products in the market, and then to open the stalls at 6 a.m. and then close at 9 p.m. in the evening, and then in that working time, she only get like a $10 per day or even $15 per day, and that's one of the reason why I have to help this group of people, because I realize it's not only my mother who experiencing this condition, and then we come up with the idea of the Aglonera right now.
It's wonderful. And the other thing that I think is just so inspiring for all of us to hear about is like the solution orientation and grit that your team shows. The fact that you're like, okay, we're going to do the deliveries ourselves until we can figure out a delivery solution. And, then, okay, now let's partner with this nonprofit. Let's try buying in bulk and, sell to people who are celebrating Ramadan. Like, you are living this like life in beta experimentation that I think is so important at this moment, to just be, how do we find solutions and quickly and try them, etc. So thank you for all that you're doing there.
Yeah.
Morris, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
We would love to hear your story about how you and your team, started your company and what inspired you.
Yes. Me and my co-founder Lawrence, we literally grow from a farm. Me in particular, 80% of my school fees came from. Yes, so even from a childhood, I learned this culture of agriculture, of farming, of growing food, and sometimes the responsibility would move up to selling it to the market. Yeah, so you produce, you take it to the market, and some guy there would want to tell you how much you should sell. And sometimes, in most cases, you don't have much choice, because your product is not bought. You will have to go back. You cannot eat all of it. Yes, so when I met my co-founder, he also shared the same experience, and we also realized that the problem is not only with us. We realized that the problem is global. So what we wanted to do is to help those who are experiencing the same problem we experience, and from their hard work. Yes, so we develop a bucket dryer that help preserve what they're producing. So after you have gone to the market, you have sold the fresh one. The remaining, you don't have to go with it to the market again, or when the bottle reduce, because fresh product, after sometimes you don't keep in the fridge, it will wilt away. Yeah. So we said let's dry this. After drying, then we can process it more. like turn them into powder or preserve it in that format or eat in the format. Yes, that is how Sparky literally came about.
Amazing.
Yes.
And yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yes, this is as short as that. Yes, what we decided to choose about the drying because there could be the other way around of going to cool, like what Photocycle was doing at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, so we chose to go drying because in the village where we came from, there was some drying system. But it was very big, very huge, like a big house. And they use it for drying wool. It would be easy. Yes, that's why we chose drying. And with drying, you can preserve it for much longer time than fresh. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's great to see, like, Albert wants to chat with you, and we've definitely had so much interest from our broader TFF like constituency about learning more about your dried food products, etc., even potential in the global market. So it's really exciting to see these dots connected. And Dario, like, I love the Cultivando Futuro story. So can you share a little bit about how you guys came together and what inspired you?
Yeah, so it was a long, turbulent career. No, but basically, like a very cool thing here in Colombia is that everyone is related to the countryside. Just probably one generation, two generations come from the countryside. In my specifically for me, my family is from a town in the frontier of Colombia, right? And to this day, they still get their best fruits and vegetables on a plane. Like there's not a really good road to take food over there, so you have to fly it in, and that's just crazy. Like we have a lot of water, we have land. Like probably it's not the best land, but you can grow anything anywhere right now, right? Sorry. But yeah, so that was my part of the story. Like some of the other founders of the company, like there were farmers that like they lived in the farm, they worked in the farm, and they wanted, like they're young, they want to keep supporting their communities, but probably not just like picking stuff from the ground, but kind of changing a little bit on their role, like our CTO. Basically we found it like farming in a farm, and he was like, I want to make apps, right? Like I want to build apps. So we brought it into the team, and he has developed all our technology. And the cool thing is that he can actually, we don't have to go all the times to the farm to validate something new. Like he says like, oh, this works, this doesn't work. Like a farmer would never use this. They don't talk this way. They don't act this way. And
he's a farmer himself. Yes.
Yeah, he's a farmer himself. Yeah. Like we stole the farmer from the farm to help us build the technology.
Yeah, but it's cool. I mean, he's taught himself to code, right? If I remember his story correctly, like.
Yeah, when he got into the team, he had to quit the university, quit school, because they didn't have the resources. So basically, the cool thing is that when we brought him into the team, like there were a lot of resources inside the entrepreneur community.
Yeah.
That's more like human resources, so he could ask other entrepreneurs in the co-working spaces. Like then we went to Amsterdam for the TFF summit, and these things like opened everyone's minds. Yeah. But yeah, like it's been quite a really good like learning experience for all of the team.
It's so funny though, what you're talking about, there's like actually like academic literature about this. It's called like customer empathy, like when you can empathize with your customer. And so for example, Burton, it's a big company that makes snowboards. They actually like hire snowboarders into their R&D team to help like understand like what does a snowboarder want? Like what do they like maybe want, but they haven't told us yet, etc. And you guys have just done that naturally. You're like, we have a farmer who's developing our solutions, and they understand like what are farmers thinking about, how would they act, how would they not act, you know, etc. So like you know, you're like at the cutting edge of how to innovate in the most profound.
Yeah. It's weird how doing the logical thing, it's innovating now.
Exactly. Like I'm just giving you the academic theory to prove what you're doing is right.
Yeah, but yeah, it's so weird because like right now we get consulted by government and from smarter people than us on just like things you can go and talk to the farmer if you have like your ears and your eyes open to do it. And it's so weird that this becomes like a highly priced skill these days.
You're
right?
like, but we're just doing this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of I think probably that the biggest danger we have right now, like the biggest, the worst thing that could happen, and the biggest danger is the people that say like, oh, we're just waiting for things to go back to normal, right? Because normal wasn't working.
Exactly.
And there's so much people just like they think, oh, this is going to be like 3 more months and then we can go back to normal, right? And you just realize farmers have been, it's not about getting more technology to the farmers, it's just farmers have been neglected for so long. Like you haven't invested the money that the food industry needs, and now we are paying like kind of that price with all this chaos, right? But it's just about listening, it's just about like understanding what's going on, like from personal experiences, and the solutions are there. Like it's not about rocket science and
well,
like,
it's funny you're mentioning this. I just did an article, which hopefully will come out soon, but I think like one thing COVID has exposed is the fragility of our supply chains, right? Which is what we're discussing today. And also the just-in-time nature of our supply chains. And one of the big trends right now is, of course, alternative proteins, right? And they're looking towards plant-based solutions. But the issue is if we just replicate for these new crops like pea, the supply chains of, you know, our commodities will be in the same mess. So we need to take all of these lessons and diversify, right? And supply chains, work towards empowering smallholders, right? And look towards all of the lessons and say, if we are going to transition to a plant-based future or a more sustainable and inclusive food system, like what are those things that we need to get better at, right? That we can't afford to go back to normal around. So it's a really interesting point that you're making here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I recently got thinking, and I was understanding that there was a pre-COVID reality, there is a COVID reality, and there would be a post-COVID reality. So basically the new normal is something totally different. So going back to normal does not exist. I think we are way past that at this point, because there are certain advantageous and evolutionary pushes that we've done. There are certain things we've adopted that we can't go back on after the pandemic gets settled. And then when you talk about going back to normal, some people think a year, a month or two, like you mentioned. And I have been trying to follow a bit more of the science and tech innovation from the drug and therapeutics angle of it. And I realized it could take like 9 months to a year possibly. And so we need to be ready for the long haul. We need to plan and prepare ourselves for like a long drawn out battle. And so we don't get surprised by how long the solution takes to return to what people assume will be normal. So.
Well, let me get real here with this next question, because it's something, I mean, we're all so intrinsically motivated by trying to build a better food system because we care about it. We've grown up with, you know, seeing the issues, we've experienced it in our own families. We want to make a difference. But at the same time, and now I'm going to speak on behalf of you guys, you're building startups and trying to get them funded, customer, you know, and you're doing all it takes, right? Just to stay afloat right now. Investments are drying up. You know, it's like, it's a hard time to even be running a business, let alone trying to like build a better food system for like post-COVID. So how do we do this? Like, let's get real here. Like, what do you need? Is it like, do you need people to step in and like fund you right now? Do you need more opportunities to make your messages heard to the big players? Like, how can we do this so that we can get to a better state when you know, this is over, whenever that happens?
Okay, so the first thing for me is, I would say, I am yet to see a company that turns down investment. I'm very difficult for you to find a company that, except maybe it's a conscious, deliberate decision because they are not probably expanding or they have no reason to modify their business model and all of that. So, but for me, I would say the funding is fundamental. But at the same time, having money and having what to do with it in this particular context are two different things, because people now have monies they can't spend. Some are trying to access money they don't have. And so I think that it's a peculiar situation. So for startups now, I think for us, it's more about survival and adapting. Survival and adapting by modifying our business models, changing our strategies and finding new ways to do business. I know, like the going through social media, the use of creation of platforms via the webs for sale and all of that. And I think we have to just adapt, because I tell people, I say, you have to tackle your business like there is, like failure is not an option.
Failure is not an option.
Yes, failure cannot be an option. And so you have to keep giving it your best. You have to keep adapting to the situation and realize that adaptation is something that does not have to be fixed. Some people assume you create a business model and you have to forcefully implement that model to the core. And the beauty about running a startup is you are still small enough to keep changing.
Yes. It's just like biology, right? Like
so we are still, because of that, I think we are suited for thriving in circumstances of stressful situations, and that just gives us an advantage. So I think each company as a startup would have its own peculiar needs, but be it finances, be it partnerships, be it access to certain spaces and connectivity. And in fact, another thing I think we haven't mentioned is we've been talking farmers. We've not really talked how consumers are changing. Because yes, consumer mindset is changing, consumer choices are changing, the preferences are changing. People are moving away from frivolous eating to food that is necessary for their health and for the nutritional sustenance of their lives. And so all of these changes are happening, and we have to keep modifying our businesses and our models to suit the circumstances.
Yes. Here. That culture of experimentation and trying. Fernando, what are your thoughts on this?
Yes, I'm sorry that there is a noisy background.
We can't hear it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I think that we have to be not that much optimistic, because, I mean, the new normal is not defined yet.
Right.
Eventually, the big corps will gain the ground again. So, in my case, we do need financial support, but we need human support. I mean, talent support, perhaps working on a business model that actually can fit on investors and banks' plans, because we have to do one step at the time. It's so hard to think about the new normal happening tomorrow and us being leading we can lead the new normal, but we have to be smart. Being a change maker is not doing magic. You have to deal with something that you do not want to lead, and you have, to convince people by leading with example, by proving a track record. For us, the third thing we need is some kind of certification, organization support, like the support that is already doing for us, Tofu Food. We every time we pitch in Nispero, we say, hey, Tofu Food is at least, we are community members, because we are trying to promote a different model. And of course, we need to gain people's trust. And
credential,
of course. And there is something very valuable about Tofu Food, and it's the network. I think this is a community not only to exchange knowledge and insights, but to connect. Hey, are you moving to Panama? As an example, we have people there that perhaps can help you to move forward, because it's so much delicate to think about the new normal. And it's all about local food systems and small scale farming and organic farming. That's our idea, but that is not happening today. And the new normal need consumers acting as the new normal as well.
Absolutely.
this is like the starting point of the new normal. But I mean, I have to create this sense of urgency, of healthy urgency, because we just, I mean, we can talk and discuss as much as we can about this, and we can nourish our ideas, but we need to go to the market. Yeah.
Exactly, and get people to change. I completely agree. What about you, Dario or Morris or Fabri? Like, what are you guys worried about right now? What do you need help with?
Me or Dario?
Okay. Fabri?
Yeah, you go. You can go first.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, for me, I think this is going to be super shallow, but it's all about the money. Like I think that the best investment the world can make is on entrepreneurs, and I just don't think that people have factored this in and actually understand how much return on the investment is just investing on the entrepreneurs, even small quantities. Like people don't realize like $5,000 to run a pilot, what it means for an entrepreneur, for a whole team.
Yeah.
This is huge. And then you go and see these huge organizations talking about making these millions of dollars on projects that fail, right?
Yeah.
And they do it like nothing. They're just like, oh yeah, we just throw away.
Yeah.
We are investing $1 billion. What happens with that? Nobody knows what happens with that. And yeah, for me, like $5,000 for an entrepreneur is huge. Like for a team, it goes a long way. And still, we put so much, like when you invest in an entrepreneur, like you get like they put so much more work than the money they are getting. Like let's take the $5,000 example. They give you $5,000, but you work like $30,000 on your own salary that you don't never get paid until some far future that you're looking for, right? And people don't factor this in. Like if they made you like run your business case for the $5,000, it wouldn't be enough for putting like a little car in the streets, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think it's huge for entrepreneurs, and people, like they should just be investing like crazy in small teams. Like give them $1,000, give them $5,000, you'll get 100 times more return just on the work they're putting in on it. And yeah, this is just like the time you say, like, if you don't invest in entrepreneurs, you're just stupid. You're
missing the point. Yeah.
You're missing the point. You're throwing away the money. You're investing on youth. You want to get young people back in the countryside, back working. Invest in entrepreneurs from the countryside.
Oh
like
my
you just
God.
have to put your mouth put the money where your mouth is, because just talking about millions of dollars on these huge projects, it's
well, I mean, I had this discussion all the time. I won't mention names, but like how much money is spent on defending the status quo versus investing in the future is mind-boggling to me. But I definitely want to make sure that we take out that soundbite from you, Dario, and send it to our funders to say, here's who you should be investing in, because exactly like you said. And I remember a call we had a couple of weeks ago where I said, are you holding up okay? How's COVID? You're like, I'm used to this. This is like, this roller coaster. This is what entrepreneurs, like, we thrive in this kind of environment, right? We're like, bring us a challenge. This is exciting. We're going to find the ways to solve it. And, we're kind of like unstoppable, right? And action focused. But yeah. So thanks for those inspiring words. Fabri, I know that you were going to jump in with some thoughts from Indonesia.
Okay, this condition, I think this condition is the best time for entrepreneurs to learn what is the suitable actions to overcome the problems. What works and doesn't work, and then I think this is the best time for us to invest to invest smartly. which part of the business that we should invest and we should not invest. And for the agglomerate itself, COVID situation is a challenge, is a big challenge for us to tap untapped markets that we never looked before. So I think like a Daria said, we never get back to normal. So we have to lead the normal. We have to make a new normal. We have to become a leader, because every company right now is starting from zero.
Yeah.
We don't know who will become a winner. So we have to make a first mover, so we can lead the game. And that's Agglomera's things about this situation.
Amazing. Morris, do you have anything that you want to add from your experience and perspective?
Yes. About what need to be done most at the moment, yes, I think innovators and entrepreneurs need support. Yes, money is needed as well. There you was talking about 5,000. I remember in 2017, a seed fund or a friendship fund that it was $35,000. The trend of Sparky. Yes, that money did a lot. We were able to complete our prototype. We did piloting. Yes, I believe startups and entrepreneurs need financial support. And in most cases, like in Uganda, I see this money being given into a wrong direction. The focus is actually not right. The money is there, but how the money reach the right people is the issue. Yeah. Because the government have come with the different program to help communities get up. For example, you come to a community, you come with your idea, we are going to give you a dairy cow. And these people of the community, they local bulls for actually plowing. Yeah. They don't know anything about dairy cow, any kind of stuff, and you give them. Then after a few years, you will say, we tried and it didn't work. But there are people who are already doing things that are actually, that is proven and is bringing solution. We ignore those people. Yeah, so I believe money is needed for every entrepreneur and every startup, but much more also like be part of their journey. Because you can give them money and you fold your hand back. Yes. Now, this is someone who is growing in the industry. Like last year, we applied for certification by the authority that in Uganda, and they told us that the process will take 2 years. So a startup is rated like a big corporate company. Yeah. Yes, what a big corporate company goes through, they want startups to go through. I think there is something missing in that link. So I believe that our government or everyone who wants to support communities grow and they become sustainable, they should.
Yeah.
Yes, they should get into their journey. Yes, yes, support them financially, but also every step they move, make things easy for them, make policies that can favor their growth. Yeah. I think if we do that, things will be much better. Thank you.
I think this is such an amazing insight because it's a very, again, practical insight that hopefully policymakers will take note of. I have seen some countries experimenting with the concept of sandboxes. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but it's basically giving like regulatory systems the freedom to work with entrepreneurs to kind of like dismantle those kind of 2-year time horizons and, you know, the bureaucracy that normally exists to say like, let's work together, play together, and try to fast track some of these innovations into the market. And I've seen, like, for example, Singapore has set up some sandboxing around their food security agenda. And I wonder if there's that type of effort happening in your parts of the world. And if not, maybe that's a very tangible thing that we could start talking to policymakers about, right? And looking at how they can execute that, because 2 years is crazy. You don't even know if you'll be around in that time. Yeah, Albert, tell us.
Okay, so I have a similar story with Maurice pertaining to that, but I think apart from just engaging policymakers, I think we just have to get ourselves in the policy decision making.
Yeah.
Because I realized I once had a conversation with the nation's meeting, and then decisions were being made about his country. And apart from the official representation present at that meeting, there was no other person from that country in that meeting. So it got me thinking about the fact that why would decisions be made about me as a food and agri entrepreneur and as a science and tech innovator, and I'm not present when those decisions are being made? Yeah. So people forget about the fact that you need to connect to the people facing the challenges, but also bring them to be present so they can, in their own words now, explain and tell you exactly what is the problem, what they need to solve the problem, and then how you can now help them to solve the problem. Because some governments and policymakers make the mistake of deciding what certain sectors need. So, and these people are not experts in those, they're not. And because they are not experts, decisions they are taking would not necessarily work for people on the ground and work for everybody around that. So the certification thing, it's all the policy, it's an issue that affects
the enabling environment.
They're trying to break into a new market. Like, for example, Cotton Plus as a product is the pioneering product. So it's like a new market they're trying to break into. So there's no regulation on ground for you at all. So first of all, the regulation has to be created to cater for your own existence. And nobody takes you seriously if you are not either probably connected or have the enough financial backing to support your claims and to push all of those things. So I think for me, I've taken a journey into trying to, I don't know whether you've observed recently, Chrissy, I've taken a journey into trying to be involved in the decision making, the policy making, the collaboration with programs connected to the African Union, connected to the Nigerian, the United Nations Development Fund, and being there when those decisions are being made, so that I can go back now to my company and to my colleagues and say, oh, this decision was made. Now let's tap into the advantages that this decision brings us. So I think it's a huge thing to consider.
It's amazing. And I have to tell you too, and then unfortunately we're out of time, but there's so much to talk about. But indeed, like a lot of times too, when I'm involved in multi-stakeholder discussions about improving food systems, there is this consciousness to involve farmers and the private sector, but the innovators are not there at the table as this like missing link, right? To kind of like be the solutions. Private sector doesn't always encompass startups in the, you know, way that a lot of policy is developed. It's basically like big companies and financial institutions, but we need to inject ourselves more into these types of discussions. So it's great to see your leadership in Africa, Albert. And I think, you know, all of you have those types of, you know, movements that you're getting involved in your respective countries and regions. Before we close out, and I'm going to actually let you guys close out, but I wanted to mention that Thought for Food has established an experiment, what we call it the COVID Collaboration Collective, co-cubed. And basically what we are trying to do is create a home for entrepreneurs and innovators from all around the world to come together and share their ideas, their open source blueprints of some technologies that they think can be leveraged in other parts of the world, their experiences, their failures. We're going to be having a fail fest here coming up, but really so we can create this collaboration focused environment to accelerate innovation. So this discussion will be made available, of course, in the future on our TFF Digital Labs, which is our collaboration platform. And the insights will also be made available on the COVID Collaboration Collective site. For me, there were so many takeaways around the need to engage diverse types of stakeholders like telecoms, like social media, like financial organizations, the need to really build solutions that are inclusive with smallholder farmers and innovators involved, and of course the need to support entrepreneurs to transition us towards this new normal. So I see that Dario you're there. Somebody just dropped off. Who just dropped off? Fernando just dropped off. Okay, sorry, I'm like trying to keep track of all the comments and everything too. But if you guys could maybe just close out with a final reflection of a tangible action that you're going to take to work together in this, community on, and then like everyone who's actively participated in the chat, I encourage you to go look at those chats because they've been cheering you on. And we also at TFF there, Fernando's back. We encourage you to also keep the conversation going on our social media channels and bilaterally. So each of you, just really quick, like 30 seconds, what are you gonna do next to collaborate and build this better future?
Okay, so on my part, I think I would need to, first of all, not just improve my knowledge of and understanding of what is going on. I realized there are times where certain people are doing certain things, but you don't have as much information and details. Yeah. And so it affects the possibility for a collaboration because you are not in the picture, you don't understand what's going on, so you don't get it. And for me, I think what I'll be taking back from this conversation is the fact that I need to be more open to conversations being made so that I could pick out possible collaborators. And also I've learned to leverage existing methods of communication, because now if, for example, they are using WhatsApp and Facebook, and instead of having to create a brand new platform to push through a situation, why not just leverage something already existing and fast track your idea or your methodology through the process. So for me, I think it's just about evolving, about changing strategies and modifying our business models and becoming better people and then better entrepreneurs and companies in the process.
Connecting these dots. Amazing. Dario.
Okay, so my takeaway from this will be the importance of listening and having like this hands-on approach. And yeah, like still for me till this day, Morris solution from Sparky 2 years ago is one of the most, it blew my mind. Like I thought like it's so straightforward, so simple. And I think that the biggest thing like we should be aware right now is how we can help other entrepreneurs around the world that have solutions that work in our ecosystems, in our countries, because there's so many solutions, so much brilliant people, and I probably won't manage to bring those ideas to start going around the globe and start testing in different countries. So just being aware they are out there, like how we could interact and how we could be kind of distributors of these ideas too. I think it's great, and I think it just like jumps innovation like 10 years in the country. You bring something from outside, like it's such a huge leap what we can do just like from exchanging our projects around the world.
Amazing. Fernando?
Yeah, I'm staying with the last idea of Dario. I think that creating something that helps others to scale. I mean, Thought for Food does it all, Christine. I mean, it's awesome. But I will propose something like in the very short term, perhaps some material that we can use in our social medias, supporting our initiative. I mean, it's amazing to be in the same stage with people in Switzerland, Colombia, Nigeria, Indonesia, London, Atlanta. I mean, just a few posts about it, a string. I mean, it's a competitive advantage. That's a very short term, but in the medium term, I will help to create something that allow it, perhaps in Latin America, which is my region, to scale, to move company more agile among countries, because we all share mission.
Amazing. Morris, closing final thought, quick.
Yes. Yes, to make it quick, I've realized that there is so much more within our community which we have not tapped into its full potential. So I think I would stay much more connected with those in my circle, mostly thought for food community, and partner with them because I already know it. So the only thing missing is just me connected with them and getting the right thing, something which is already working. Yes, that is my take.
Nice.
Yes, thank you so much for the session.
Thank you so much. Fabri, last 30 seconds if possible.
Yeah.
And then yeah.
Okay. First of all, thank you. And then it's time for a collaboration. It's time for a partnership for me, and then we can choose like all panelists say, we can post with the social media, and then the important things that we have to think globally, but we have to start locally because we know the solution lies on our local communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I am so energized from this amazing panel and, all of the entrepreneurs doing such incredible things. On behalf of the TFF core team, we are here to humbly serve you and your amazing, innovations that you're bringing forward into the world to solve real problems. So just thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you to all of the attendees. Thanks for sticking on the extra 5 minutes. We're here for you. Ping us anytime you need anything. And let's do this, as Felipe would say from Renature. But the next normal is going to be ours to shape. So thank you very much. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh.